The Buddha's way is a path to openness. Yet it is an ordinary way in being about us and not something special outside of ourselves. It recognizes that accepting everything that is within us or facing us is the way to deal with difficulties in life. And relaxing to whatever there is, whether external or internal, we let things be as they are rather than as we wish they were. Such easing into any problem seems related to what Dogen Zenji called settling the self on the self. Mitch Paskin said in his recent way-seeking talk here that all that he had ever wanted to be was normal, which is an insightful way of expressing the desire to be enlightened. Instead of adding on things in our lives, practice reduces what is not working there. Suzuki Roshi said, "We say he attained enlightenment, but it might be better to say he forgot everything." Left to being just who we are opens us to ourselves and to others and to caring for ourselves and others. Such an understanding of how people handle difficulties isn't the most common way for doing this. That is, the common way is doing what people can do to get rid of problems, not wanting anything to get in the way of their having what they want and not having what they don't want. Such dependence on likes and dislikes helps to define who we are, and so is connected to a supposed need to protect the self. Nevertheless, Buddhism only says that such a self does not exist intrinsically, but also that people suffer from assuming that it does. This is based in particular on a mistaken belief that they have to have what they want or don't have to have what they don't want. For instance, I like strawberries enough that if a store is out of them, I will go somewhere else to get them. Several times a week, I eat them by cutting them up with sugar and adding sugar and yogurt. But if it turns out that our doctor tells me that I am eating too much sugar, I will have to give up that breakfast. If I do this, but regret it, or if I don't do this, it will be out of my thinking that I have to have what I want. If I started eating eggs and toast instead, that would show that I haven't fallen into becoming the servant, if not the slave, of something I desire. We all have examples of the actions of others seeming to cause us to get what we don't want to have. One form of this is concerned with what others do again and again, despite our having decided that they shouldn't. Then we turn this judgment into a personal law that we enforce on others, and are irritated every time that we think we see that someone has broken that law. We don't take into account that Buddhism says that everything changes, so that each thing is better seen as brand new than as something repeated. However, while imagining that it is others that are making us feel angry, it is ourselves who are causing us to suffer in this way. The proof that we are doing it to ourselves is that, the proof that we are doing it to ourselves is that our reaction to their actions is predetermined by what we see are our personal requirements. Moreover, while having habits may seem to make our life easier, they also serve to close us off from experiencing what is directly happening to us. The opposite of this is looking at life with a beginner's mind, one open to whatever occurs. The point is that not minding not getting what we want, or not minding getting what we don't want, sets us free from the tyranny of the self's likes and dislikes. Then we welcome each situation as we face it, thus relieving us from the need to have our desires fulfilled. Once it is fine for us not to have what we want, as well as to have what we don't want, what truly matters can appear at any moment. Thank you. Here's, oh, by the way, and some of you know, or anyway, some don't know, is that this is the 51st anniversary of Jane.
And me.
Peter, you forgot to say that. That's a Freudian slip.
No, I know I didn't know. That was intentional slip. Not a Freudian one. But Jane filled in really well. That worked out nicely. Anyway, that's our day. And so anyway, do you have any comments about the talk, or questions, or something to add? Yes, Mike.
I'll start the conversation. I can only relate your talk to something that I've gone through in my life that's rather particular to me. Is a lot of you know I used to be a rock climber. And one of the most dangerous rocks to climb on was sandstone, because it would change constantly. And all my friends I used to climb with would complain because we go out to do a route and it's completely changed because holes have broken off and stuff like this. And I loved it because I could climb the same route and it would be different every time I climbed on it. And it kind of made me think of that when I was listening to your talk, because it was, I guess, an acceptance of change. And that, I wasn't expecting the same thing to be there every time, where I could close my eyes, reach out and grab a handhold and step on something. I had to re-examine this whole route that I've climbed on for 40 years and go, wow, that's gone. That's new. That's gone. Oh, cool. And go have fun with it and stuff. And so I guess that kind of relates to what you were talking about, but it was just something that came to mind when I was listening to your conversation, that in climbing, I liked it because I could go to the same place, and I did at Stony Point for 40 some odd years, and I climbed the same routes and always find something new on it, and that was half the fun.
I wondered if you were talking about Stony Point. Sounded like Thank you. Yeah, of course. That's a good example. Yeah. Yes, it is. Let me tell you who's here today. Beth and Mark.
You want to come sit here for questions?
And Ian, who's
Hasn't been here for a while, but he's.
There's Ian right there.
But
There's Mark, not Ian.
And Mark, yeah.
No, Ian's here.
Yeah, but Ian has been here for a long time, actually, and he also received his.
There's Ian. There's Ian. Yeah. Yep. Ian's been around at least about 10 years, Ian?
Maybe. No, 15.
Longer
15.
because I remember
15.
you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
so he also has his rock suit from a
Yeah.
ceremony.
So anyway, anyone else have a comment or a question?
Can
Mark, yes?
I? Peter, can everyone hear me okay on the internet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it seems in my life that I have big goals, which seem to be driven by desires, and then I have little goals, which are more immediate, which seem, again, to be a constant conflict of work, desire. There's this desire to work to have money. There's this desire not to work to have pleasure. There's a desire not to be stressed out, but I still have to go to work. So I'm constantly juggling desires and goals, and it seems I'm led by these goals to all kinds of different situations. And you're talking about not caring whether situation you end up in.
Yes, but I'm talking about it in a more moment or day by day situation, or moment after moment situation, and particularly with respect to likes and dislikes. Not, of course, desires are very, very important, but in the case of likes and dislikes, they're very, very ephemeral actually, even though they may remain the same. But we get hung up on them, and if we don't get what we want, then we suffer from it. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals, or if we call desires goals, which they are, then there's no problem at all. Also, I'm talking about what's happening in practice. And so, although it's also, in this case, with likes and dislikes, is relevant to ordinary life as well. So the important thing is to remain open. So don't let your likes and dislikes close you off from the world, and close you off from yourself.
And yet I put a big whiteboard in my room, and I write down everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And then I struggle with that whiteboard that I've constructed for the perfect life, for everything to go perfectly. So can you give us any hint of how to weave our way through this?
Can I say something?
The important thing is not to get upset when you don't get your way, whatever that way is. So things change, and of course, we have to adapt. But we have this habitual way of doing things, so we also don't want to adapt. We want things to always remain the same. So it's in relationship to that that it's most important.
I think Jane wanted to say
I
something.
wanted to say something
Yes,
also,
okay.
Mark, and not just the day-to-day things, but just things like pain, that if you have it. And it's very hard not to just desire to be free of it and then just always be looking for some way to get out of it. But on the other hand, there is another way you can deal with it, is to look at what's working besides that, what is improving and feels better, just to lighten the mood a little, and to spend your time whenever I feel the urge how to get rid of it. I ask myself, what's the best way to manage this? So it gives me an active role rather than a passive receiving only situation. So I think just trying to figure out what's the best way to manage it. For me, it would be like small steps, especially until I find an actual way to help. But I think that's one way, is just to concentrate instead of on the unpleasant dislike, to concentrate more on managing, which is the positive way of stepping forward.
It's true. I have these, but I do have these goals which change every single moment, every single day. They're constantly in flux. And I'm constantly not getting exactly what I want or getting too much of it. And then then I forget my goals and my habitual work, my mind or body takes over and we do all kinds of things that are off the charts. So
Try doing kinyin, metaphorically with it. One step, one change, one step, one manage, like that.
I'll give it a try.
Because when you sit in a session, say a 7-day or a 5-day session, you sit there and the first thing you start doing is looking at all the stuff you have to do and are terrified of doing and don't really want to do. And so you have to manage that every moment to keep from getting up and leaving. And the best way to manage it is just say, just do a kin and just stick with it step by step and forget everything else like that.
So, for some people, making plans is very important. They want to make plans for what is going to happen, which is of course very, very reasonable. The question is, what happens when your plans fall through, even on a minor scale? If you get upset about it, then that's what I'm talking about. But if a plan changes, you just change with the plan. There's no problem at all. You have the plan, everything changes, you change too, and you go to where that takes you. Then there's no problem because you don't cause yourself suffering. Not every change of plans causes suffering, but some do. And so it's dealing with your own emotions about the way you think things should be, as well as the way you sometimes think the way things should be for others. But my talk was about what part of it was about about superimposing your plans upon the plans of others, and then getting upset about what that fact, that, because it really isn't your practice, it's their practice.
So your solution was to just let go of that.
Just let go, always let go. Yeah, that's the word I should have used, is let go.
Okay. Well, if you see me driving down the freeway headed out of town, I just let go. I'm not coming back.
You hear the song
I fully
gonna say,
expect
come
that.
back. You hear the song goes, voice like an echo, come back.
Yes.
I
It's
go to Jane
also-
and say, Jane, I think Mark's going.
And we'll always say, come back.
Where did Mark go? Where did he go?
Yes, Ian, but you,
Oh, okay.
I can't, it's hard to get you hooked up.
I'll just sit down. Yeah, I'll just sit down. Hi, everybody. Well, I was just reminded while you guys were talking about something that happened to me earlier. It was kind of weird. I was looking at my phone, and out of nowhere, a fly came onto my phone, and it didn't go away. It just sat there, and it kind of looked at me, and I kind of thought it was like the universe looking at me, going, "What the hell are you doing?" And I like moved the phone, and I was like, "Okay, the fly's gonna move." Didn't move. Just kind of like started cleaning his wings and like doing all this stuff. Just hung out on my phone, and I was like, "This is crazy." And I'm thinking about, I'm relating it to what you're talking about, like like most people don't want to fly on their phone, it's gross, right? But I thought, well, maybe I should let him do his thing for a minute. Just kind of like, like not exert my will over the fly. Because, like I'm part of the fly as much as he's a part of me. So I should really let this happen until its completion. And then he got it, and then he just was gone. Just like that. And I went, okay. So, I think, and I've been struggling with that a lot lately of trying to, override my own will with what I think should happen, versus what's actually happening. Perfect example, I was driving down the street, and there's a coffee shop on one side and there's a donut shop on the other, and people constantly are walking back and forth, but not in the crosswalk. And this happens every morning. I come home, because I work overnight, so I come home around 7, and of course people are out getting their day started. And the other day, I was coming home, and I saw some guy lumbering, he's not awake, he hasn't had his coffee or his donut yet. And he's lumbering across the street, and very slow, and I'm driving, and I go, beep! And I scream at him, and I go, get out! And then I was driving away, and I actually kind of laughed about it too, because I thought it was funny. And then I drove away, and I went, you jerk! Why did you do that? He's probably gonna have a bad day now because of you. He's gonna think about that all day long. But so now, like I stopped in that moment, and I went, well, maybe you should be nicer to people. Maybe you shouldn't try to like put your will on like the fact that he should be in the crosswalk. Yeah, is it safer? Probably, but he doesn't care. He's doing his thing. Just stop. There's no more cars. There's no cars. Okay? Just slow down. And so the universe did another thing to me this morning. And it said, here's the guy again. It was a different person, but he said, here's the guy again. And the guy looked bummed out. I looked at his face. He looked bummed out. He's got to go do whatever he's going to do for his day. And I slowed down. I didn't yell at him. I just let him do his thing. And he waved at me. He said, thank you.
Good, that's good,
That's
Anna.
nice.
That's very good, yeah, that's just right, that's
I got a little pat on the back.
that's a good example of my talk.
That's funny.
Although I couldn't use the anecdote of the guy waiting at me. But anyway, but it's very, very good, yeah, I like that. Anybody else have anything else to say? Yes, Rachel, and then Sandy?
When there's a discrepancy between what your mind determines you like and dislike, and then what your physical body has an opinion too, such as exhaustion, like taking on or having thrust upon you, or a combination of both. Situations that transcend liking and disliking, they just merely have to be done. And and anyone, me or anyone, discovers in fact weariness determines they can't even rise to the situation. Is that just like spiritual maturity, where you finally develop the ability to intuit when to step back? In other words, not even do Kinyan, just simply sit, as opposed to, discriminating between this, that, really truly withdrawing from determination. Do you know what I mean? That you no longer use your will or even judgment. You relax and allow silence to determine what will happen 60 minutes from now. Because in much of real life, something that sounds as simple as likes and dislikes gets so completely muddled together with everyone else's likes and dislikes, and everything has to be somehow handled in as in as harmonious a way as you can muster. What do you do?
Thank you, all of those things are very true, yeah, and that's interesting, yeah. Because we often, well, we, in my case anyway, I often disregard what the body wants. I used to, I say. Nowadays, life has changed, and now the body tells me what to do all the time. So I'm, and being patient with that. Jane was talking about when she talked about, having, dealing with pain. Because of course we dislike pain. But yeah, thank you. Sandy?
Um, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Uh, well, one of the things, I'm not really awake this morning. One of the things that I'm still having problems with is uh, I still find myself doing an instantaneous judging of things and people. And I found that I don't like it, when it happens. And so I've started um, stepping back and saying to myself, um, who am I to judge these people? Who am I to say they're good or bad? Who am I to judge these circumstances? You know, I can't do this on an instantaneous way. If I'm going to find out if something is good for me or bad for me, I need to step back and actually uh, listen to myself and say, why am I feeling this? And it's helped a lot. It's helped me to be more open and with other people. And uh, I guess that was about it. But thank you, Rachel. I appreciated too what you said. I really, really did. So right now, my husband is not feeling well, and he gets angry when he's not feeling well. So it's it's been difficult in a sense to deal with the anger. His medical condition is one thing, but his anger is another. So I've just had to step back from it and realize that he doesn't realize what he's doing. He doesn't understand that lashing out is something that he does. He won't take ownership of it. So I've just had to step back, as Peter said, and just let it go.
Yeah,
So,
it's not, of course, obviously, it's not about you. But
right.
when someone is angry at us, it's very difficult not to react to the anger. I mean, really, really hard. We all of us, well, except for Joe on this page, all of us have been married. Well, not Chris, but I don't think he's married. I don't know if you know. But anyway, but I assume he's not. But so those fights are horrible that we have in marriage because we feel hurt about what the other person says, and it goes back and it ricochets back and forth, and can really build up to something very unpleasant. Then, of course, all of a sudden it ends by itself. You don't end it, but it ends by itself. Uh, but in your case, understanding about stepping back is very important. It helps you too, but it also will it will also be kind to him.
Well, he seems to view it as indifference.
Yeah.
So I just have to accept that too.
That's true. It did not. Yeah. That's a whole nother aspect of it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Hi. There's a great book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Anger. Maybe he could read. I've been reading it. It's pretty good. That's it.
Okay. Well, there we are.
I'll add something.
Yes. Yeah.
Just for fun,
Okay. Yeah. Just.
when I drove here this morning on the freeway, there was a car that I passed. Mind you, it didn't pass me, I passed the car. That there's no reason to say that except to try to be amusing. And I amuse no one but myself, so there we go. There was a bumper sticker on the car that said, "I love aging and death."
I love Adrian.
I love aging and death.
Oh.
I heart aging and death. He was about 42. I looked at him.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I just thought that was
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
peculiar, interesting. Anyway.
Yes, Mike, thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Real quickly to what Rachel and Sandy were talking about. When my wife was dying from her illness, she used to scream and get angry at me. And she would say, look, the only reason I'm screaming at you is you're the only person around that I can yell at because I'm not happy about this situation. And she told me, she goes, I'm going to yell and scream at you because you're the only person here that I can yell at. And so please don't take it too hard. It's just, I can vent myself. But the other statement I wanted to make along with what you were talking about, Peter, was about having goals. When I first joined Beginner's Mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to become a Zen priest. I'm going to get this down and all this stuff. And life got in the way and said, no, you need to regroup and rethink. And I found that if I loosened my goals as to what I want to accomplish with Zen, I'm accomplishing more than I thought I could, because I was setting up these artificial hurdles that I wanted to accomplish and do and all this stuff. Because if I want to be a great, be a good Zen Buddhist, I should do these things and I should go along this path. And as a lot of you are doing too, my body's not letting me do it anymore. My health is not letting me do it anymore. And by relaxing my goals in what I desire in my path of Zen, my practice, I'm a lot more at peace with what's going on, and I can still move forward with Zen, but now I don't have those goals getting in the way. Now it's just each small step that I take, each little thing I understand, and each little challenge becomes a lesson. And all of a sudden, now I enjoy Zen again. I enjoy it. I like the challenge of it. And I found that my goals were actually in the way of me getting anywhere. So I don't know if anybody else has gone through that, but I just thought I would drop that in.
No, thank you.